Rumor called it a secret Jewish organization that was masturbating patients in Orgone Accumulators, experimenting on children kept in cages, and plotting to introduce work democracy.
Hey allihopa! Hi everyone, Dragunilla here. Today's topic is orgone energy and its inventor Wilhelm Reich or Reich, the man who took Freud's already edgy theories and threw them into a blender with a heap of pseudoscience was nothing if not audacious. Once a rising star in psychoanalysis, Reich quickly went off the deep end with radical ideas about something called orgone energy, a mysterious life force that he believed could heal the sick, control the weather, and protect humanity from extraterrestrial invasions. This guy wasn't playing around. What follows is a journey through the most bizarre scientific claims, cosmic paranoia, and sex-obsessed pseudoscience you'll ever encounter. If you enjoy this type of thing, don't forget to give me a like and hit that subscribe button so you won't miss out. Okay, let's go. Who was Wilhelm Reich/Reich? Wilhelm Reich's journey through the world of psychoanalysis and radical thought was shaped both by personal tragedy and intellectual rebellion. Born in 1897 in what is now Ukraine, Reich experienced a traumatic childhood. One of the defining moments of his early life was his mother's suicide when he was just a teenager. Reich had confided in his father about his mother's extramarital affair with one of his tutors, a revelation that led to intense family strife. The guilt and emotional turmoil from these events weighed heavily on him, and his mother took her own life in 1910. This tragedy profoundly affected Reich's later views on sexuality, repression, and psychological health. In the 1920s, Reich began his career as a promising protégé of Sigmund Freud. But while Freud focused on dreams, childhood trauma, and emphasized sexuality as central to human psychology, Reich took Freud's ideas way further. Reich argued that sexual repression wasn't just a significant psychological factor, but the root cause of almost all societal ills. In his 1927 book The Function of the Orgasm, Reich claimed that failing to achieve a perfect orgasm could result in a range of psychological and even physical illnesses. He introduced the concept of orgastic potency, which he defined as the ability to fully release sexual energy during orgasm. In his view, this was the key to health, happiness, and fulfillment. People who were unable to achieve this state, Reich believed, were destined for emotional and physical suffering. Reich's obsession with sexual liberation led him to open sexual politics clinics in Austria and Germany during the early 1930s. These clinics, informed by Marxist communist ideals, offered free sexual counseling to the working class. Reich was convinced that capitalism was keeping people sexually repressed and that true revolution meant the liberation of sexual energy. However, his radical ideas made many uncomfortable, and his advocacy for sexual freedom alienated both political and scientific circles. In 1933, Reich published The Mass Psychology of Fascism, in which he argued that sexual repression and authoritarian political regimes like fascism were closely linked. This theory, along with his other increasingly radical ideas, led to his expulsion from the Communist Party, leaving Reich isolated both politically and academically. Despite his early promise, Reich's later work became marginalized as he drifted further into controversial theories, ultimately losing credibility among his peers. Bions, Reich's first dip into pseudoscience. By the mid-1930s, Reich was so far off the scientific grid that even the fringe folk started distancing themselves. Enter Bions, his supposed discovery of tiny glowing vesicles that he believed were the building blocks of life. These little bubbles of energy, according to Reich, could spontaneously generate life under the right conditions. His 1938 book, The Bion Experiments on the Origin of Life, laid out his grandiose ideas, claiming that bions bridge the gap between the non-living and the living. In the book, Reich confidently proclaimed, The Bions, glowing with a blue radiant energy, pulsate with life. They arise from dead matter, stones, coal dust and even sterile water, and with time they organize into life forms. Life itself bursts forth from the non-living right before our eyes, challenging the boundaries of what science calls possible. That's right, Reich believed he had discovered the literal spark of life happening in real time under his microscope, and he wasn't shy about the implications of what this meant. It was the scientific equivalent of claiming to witness creation itself. But wait, it gets weirder. The blue glow he claimed his so-called Bions emitted, he would later identify as Orgone energy, basically orgasm energy. This was the cosmic life force that Reich believed flowed through all living things, and it was just the beginning of his bizarre descent into orgone obsession. The Orgone Accumulator. After fleeing Europe in 1939 because, surprise, his controversial ideas were getting him into trouble, particularly with the Nazi regime, Reich landed in New York and hit the ground running with his Orgone Accumulator, a device he claimed could harness orgone energy, an invisible universal life force.
Reich constructed small boxes with alternating layers of organic and metallic materials, with the inner walls lined with metal. The organic layers attract the atmospheric orgone energy, which is then directed inward by the metal layers. Any energy reflected outward by the metal layers is reabsorbed by the organic material, attracted back to the metal and directed toward the inside of the box. The result? A higher concentration of orgone energy inside the box.
He believed that this plywood box, made of alternating layers of organic, like wool, and inorganic, like metal, materials, could draw in orgone energy from the atmosphere and cure various ailments, including cancer.
So the Orgone Accumulator box was invented by Wilhelm Reich in the 1940s to 50s. And he invented it because he wanted to accumulate or bring together orgone gas to really cure all that ails you. Now, orgone gas is what I would call a mythical gas because there is zero evidence that it exists and zero evidence that it actually does anything, even if it did exist.
Once inside this magical wardrobe, people were supposed to absorb the concentrated orgone energy to unblock their own repressed life force. According to Reich, this could cure everything from depression to epilepsy, asthma, and yes, cancer.
The Orgone Accumulator, Orgone Shooter, and Orgone Blanket were used in the treatment of ailments due to a low energy level in the body and experimentally in the treatment of cancer.
The function of the orgasm expanded on this by claiming that most physical and mental illnesses came from blocked orgone energy.
Reich developed what he called a science of orgonomics based on the positing of a fundamental sexual life energy animating the whole universe, which he called orgone energy.
Naturally, the scientific community rolled its eyes, but Reich was undeterred. The Cloudbuster, weather control and UFO battles. If you thought Reich's Orgone Accumulator was strange, wait until you hear about his Cloudbuster.
Bruh.
In the early 1950s, while running his research center Orgonon in rural Maine, Reich decided he could use his newfound energy powers to control the weather.
So the cloud busting technology, basically the cloud busting technology as I know it now, it messes with the ionosphere, the water in the atmosphere, the same as HAARP does with spreading chemtrails. So I don't want to go into that, it's a totally different topic, but I have been practicing energy mastery for quite some time, and I know that intention can change everything. So focused intention on like the weather, for example, it can be changed. It can be changed. And I think Orgone just helps that because of the life force energy that it produces.
His Cloudbuster was made up of long metal pipes, usually copper or aluminum, connected to flexible hoses submerged in water.
A set of hollow metal pipes and cables inserted into water creates a stronger orgone energy system than that in the surrounding atmosphere. Water, which strongly attracts and absorbs orgone, draws the atmospheric energy through the pipes. This movement of Orgone from a lower to a higher energy system was used by Reich to create clouds and to dissipate them.
Reich believed that water could ground excess orgone energy, and by aiming the pipes at the clouds he could either summon rain or clear up storms. But controlling the weather was just the start. Reich soon became convinced that malevolent extraterrestrials were draining Earth's orgone energy, causing sky sickness and bad weather. He claimed that he had even spotted UFOs hovering above, stealing orgone energy from the atmosphere. So, naturally, he used his Cloudbuster to shoot them down.
I was there twice visiting when my father pointed what he called the space gun, which was really a combination of the Oro substance, which was the modified radium needle, which he had treated during the Orgonite experiment and was now acting differently. For instance, didn't discharge in a charged electroscope anymore. And this needle was brought to a Cloudbuster. I mean, that was what we did in Oro Desert EA when we went out to the Arizona desert. Now, I don't know when this, I can't remember. I was just at Orgonon. It was towards dusk, and there was an object hanging in the sky towards the, I would say, south west. And I can't remember now whether he pointed the Cloudbuster at it with the Oro or not at that incident. And I saw the thing fading and disappearing. And
yes, Reich genuinely believed that his weather machine could disrupt alien energy fields and save the planet from cosmic catastrophe. The End of Wilhelm Reich. The chain of events leading to his incarceration began in 1954 when the US Food and Drug Administration, FDA, launched a full-scale investigation into his claims about orgone energy and his infamous Orgone Accumulator. The FDA wasn't amused by Reich's bold assertions and saw the Orgone Accumulator as a fraudulent medical device that preyed on vulnerable, sick individuals.
on one side of such a device, there's a different inductance, there's a different concentration of life energy. And consequently, you can recharge energy systems that have run down, which has great bearing on the whole problem with cancer, AIDS, and all terminal diseases and all serious illnesses with debilitated states.
In February of 1954, a federal court issued an injunction against Reich, banning him from selling, distributing, or even discussing orgone therapy and his accumulators across state lines. The court order also called for the destruction of Reich's promotional materials, books, and devices related to orgone energy. But Reich, in true maverick fashion, flatly refused to comply. His defiance only escalated the situation. By continuing to distribute his books and devices in violation of the court's orders, Reich crossed a line that couldn't be ignored. The FDA took an unprecedented action, ordering the confiscation of Reich's orgone accumulators and related materials. The agency went even further, supervising the public destruction of his works.
In the case of the United States of America versus Wilhelm Reich, the U.S. District Court ruled that his published works be destroyed. The Discovery of the Orgone, Volume 1, The Function of the Orgasm, Volume 2, Cancer Biopathy, Ether, God and Devil, Cosmic Superimposition, Listen, Little Man, The Murder of Christ, People in Trouble. These books were burned in the public incinerator at the corner of Hudson and Gansevoort Streets in New York City under the supervision of Federal Food and Drugs Administration agents.
In a controversial move, over 6 tons of his books, journals, and promotional literature were burned in New York City. Reich, still undeterred, saw this as confirmation that the government was out to silence him. He continued defying the injunction, believing that he was targeted for his revolutionary ideas about human sexuality and energy, not because he was a con man. The court, however, saw things differently. In 1956, Reich was charged with contempt of court for repeatedly violating the federal injunction. He was sentenced to 2 years in federal prison for his refusal to stop distributing his orgone devices and for his continued promotion of orgone energy. Reich began serving his sentence at Lewisburg Federal Penitentiary in Pennsylvania in March of 1957. By this point, his mental and physical health were in decline.
I would like only to mention the fact that there's nobody around, there's not a single soul, either here at Orgone or down in New York, who would fully and really, from the bottom of his existence, understand what I'm doing and be with me in what I'm doing.
He remained convinced that he was the victim of a grand conspiracy, but his defiance didn't last long behind bars. Just days before his scheduled parole hearing on November 3rd of 1957, Reich died of heart failure in his prison cell. His orgone energy bullshit would indeed live on, but his death marked the tragic end of one of the most controversial careers in the history of fringe science. The endless orgone energy and orgonite scams of today. Wilhelm Reich might have died in prison in 1957, but his strange legacy didn't follow him to the grave. Enter Orgonite, the modern portable descendant of his Orgone Accumulator, reborn in the New Age movement.
I mean, it's all on kind of scalar energy quantum physics level, but basically what you have, if you have the resin, epoxy or polyester is better because it squeezes tighter and cures tighter. So you're going to use, you don't need quartz crystals for functional orgonite, but it helps. So you need a lot of metal, and it really needs to be more than 50% metal, 50-50 ratio.
Orgonite has since become a sensation among conspiracy theorists, the energy healers, and those worried that invisible forces, both earthly and extraterrestrial, are out to get them.
It's not pseudoscience, it's a beautiful, real healing energy that really needs to get out there and people need to understand more. We need to find better ways to prove that this works. That's a big thing. That there is someone in Canada that's made something called the experimental life force energy meter, but they have to use experimental in the words. But that's the only thing that I've come across that really proves it, and it exists, so that's great, but it's kind of being suppressed. Sometimes I can't find their website, I can't find the videos on YouTube anymore, so that's noticeable to me. A lot of this information is being censored.
What started as Reich's big plywood box to capture mystical orgone energy has now evolved into a whole industry, producing all kinds of small shiny objects that supposedly ward off everything from bad vibes to alien abductions.
So you either buy or make your own orgonite, and then you go and put it in places that have very negative vibes. And this is for sure any place you see a cell phone tower, or where there's a lot of anything that's man-made that creates a lot of electromagnetic frequencies. So power relays, things like that, are most likely going to have a very bad vibe going on.
And you better believe that Orgonite's following has only grown since the fear around 5G networks and electromagnetic radiation have ramped up in recent years. Orgonite devices are typically made by embedding metal shavings and quartz crystals into a resin matrix, the idea being that the combination of organic resin and inorganic metal somehow creates a vortex of positive energy.
As the frequencies are sucked in by the resin, they're immediately repelled by the metal. So you have a high repulsion attraction frequencies, which is chaotic and unbalanced energy, and the crystals inside have the ability to transmute this chaotic, unbalanced energy, and it smooths it out, it balances it out, and what comes out of an orgone generator now is this smooth, harmonic, balanced, positive energy.
These little chunks of protection come in all shapes and sizes, pyramids, pendants, coasters, keychains, you name it. There is probably an orgonite version of it. According to its devotees, Orgonite can do it all: block harmful electromagnetic fields, EMFs, prevent alien abductions, neutralize toxic deadly organ radiation, DOR, attract POE, positive organ energy, and restore balance to your home's energetic flow. And, of course, also fix your mental and physical health.
The Orgone Pyramid helps to boost visualization. It enhances awareness, creativity. It boosts the immune system. It also has the ability to strengthen your psychic abilities.
Of course. Want to create a protective energy grid around your house? No problem, bury Orgonite in your yard and your neighbor's yard and all over the neighborhood. It will block out harmful radiation and bad vibes from everything within and beyond the earth. If you're into optimizing your entire life, there is an Orgonite product for every situation. Need to boost your energy while you sleep? Try an Orgone energy pillow and blanket, I don't know. I'm sure those will protect you from harmful EMFs that sneak into your sleep via your phone or Wi-Fi router. You can even take your Orgonite into the bathroom, yes, the bathroom, by putting it into the toilet tank. The logic here, and I use that word loosely, is that the Orgonite's positive energy will be spread through the water system, connecting with streams worldwide because, as some Orgonite advocates say, all streams of water and consciousness are interconnected. In other words, your flush might be saving the world from bad energy. And for those who take their organ defense even more seriously, there are Orgonite car accessories designed to protect you from UFOs draining your life force while you drive. One of the more extreme practices in the Orgonite community involves gifting Orgonite to the earth.
When you do the research, you come across all the gifters and what they've done and the wonderful results they've had. In Africa, they've thrown many of them into lakes and have had incredible results. The algae disappears and the waters become clear again, and life comes back into stagnant waters.
Devotees gift or bury Orgonite around places they feel need spiritual or environmental cleansing. This practice isn't limited to people's yards or the neighborhood. Enthusiasts bury Orgonite devices next to 5G towers, power plants, and any place they feel is producing harmful energy. Some will go on large-scale missions, dropping Orgonite around major cities.
This is just giving you ideas of where we went. We also hired airplanes and gifted water. Some of the towers on the way. You see the blue is spreading. Then we started discovering water gifting, which means that we went on cruises, or we even used our own motorboat in order to lay a string of Orgonite around the tip of southern Africa. This Orgone string in the sea has now extended to more than 4,000 kilometers.
Believing that they are purifying the environment, healing the earth, and protecting humanity from the insidious effects of modern technology. Believers claim that Orgonite improves the health of local ecosystems, restores vitality to trees, and even has the power to prevent natural disasters. Orgonite gifting has become such a thing that you find entire forums dedicated to sharing tips and experiences. How to properly bury it, where to place it, and what kinds of results they've seen. Like sudden bursts of good weather or an overall sense of calm in an area that was once teeming with bad energy. If you're wondering how much scientific support there is for all of this, the short answer is none. There is literally no real evidence that Orgonite does anything beyond being a decorative trinket. It's all based on Reich's original, highly disputed ideas about organ energy, and modern science has long since debunked those claims.
What was the Orgone Accumulator? It was a cabinet, a wooden cabinet. I got a 6-scale model of it here. Here's my Orgone Accumulator. All that was inside was a chair. No electronics, no mechanical gizmos, nothing. It was just a wooden cabinet. And yet people believed that sitting inside of it would somehow energize them.
But As long as there are fears to be exploited, from 5G networks to intergalactic energy thieves and money to be made, you can bet that Orgonite isn't going anywhere soon.
When I'm making Orgonite and helping heal other people or making custom orders to fit their needs, it's also healing myself.
Thank you so much for watching the entire video all the way to the end. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up, it really helps. And maybe subscribe. See ya!